Local programming on KRWG made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Fronteras, a Changing America. I'm Edmundo Resendez. On today's Fronteras, we take a look at the needs of middle school students. The Best Buddies program brings together special needs students in a program that educates and provides fun activities at Jackson Creek Middle School in Indiana. Here is their story.
So Best Buddies is a club here at Jackson Creek that provides the opportunity for kids who are in general education classes to spend time doing fun activities with students with disabilities. This provides an opportunity for the students who have disabilities to develop meaningful relationships and friendships with a wide variety of kids, which is often sometimes that kids with disabilities don't always have the opportunities to develop. Just due to their scheduling or due to the social impairments that they may have. And so it's really nice that it allows an opportunity on both sides. It allows kids who are in general education classes to get to know kids with disabilities, and it provides kids with disabilities a chance to create a meaningful friendship.
Oh yeah, come on!
Brandon is an 8th grader in the special needs program at JCMS.
What are your favorite things to do in Best Buddies?
We decorated cookies. Halloween crafts.
Stephen is a 7th grader in the special needs program at JCMS.
What do you do in Best Buddies?
Arts and crafts.
How has Best Buddies affected your students' lives?
It has been nothing but great. So when I first started working here at Jackson Creek, we didn't have Best Buddies. And a lot of the parents of my students talked about honestly how sad it was to see maybe siblings or other kids get invited to birthday parties, get to go out and have fun with other kids. And that social element is such an important part of all kids' lives. And for a lot of kids with disabilities, they didn't have those opportunities. They weren't invited to the birthday parties. They weren't invited to go have sleepovers. And even though Best Buddies is a structured environment to create friendships, for my kids, they just know it's a time to hang out with friends. And they look forward to it. They talk about it. When are we going to do Best Buddies next? And while we have those events, it's nice because there's no academics there. It's purely having fun with friends. It's doing crafts with friends. It's watching a movie with friends. It's, handing out Valentine's invitations with friends. It's things like that that they really look forward to, and it makes their time at Jackson Creek much more meaningful.
Who is your best buddy this year?
Paper.
Who is your buddy and what's special about them?
Sam.
Good job, we took it.
Yeah.
CommUNITY in Acción is a nonprofit dedicated to advancing the economic, civic, and social well-being of citizens in the region. Raymond Palacios is president of Bravo Chevrolet Cadillac in Las Cruces and El Paso. Mr. Palacios is a board member of CommUNITY in Acción. He is here to talk about the program and how it benefits students in our community. Mr. Palacios, welcome to Fronteras, Changing America.
Good afternoon, Edmundo. I'm pleased to be on your show.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. You're originally from Houston, my hometown, and you've been living in El Paso and doing business in El Paso for the last almost 18 years. What first brought you to El Paso?
I came to El Paso for an opportunity. I was born and raised in Houston. Went to school there, middle school, high school, college, and quite frankly, I thought I'd spend my whole career there, but as things go, you go where opportunities are. We had an opportunity to purchase a business in El Paso in 2000, and we seized it. Quite frankly, I thought this would be a short-term stint at the time, but as it turns out, we fell in love with El Paso, the community, and southern New Mexico, and this is our home.
What needs did you see when you first came to El Paso and then crossed over into Las Cruces of students in these communities?
My first impression of El Paso and southern New Mexico, because I think they're really one community as I see it. I've always, from the time I first arrived, I was fascinated with the community. I thought this area is kind of like a diamond in the rough. I mean, it's so beautiful out here, so picturesque. The culture is so warm and inviting, and I just wondered why people throughout the country, or even throughout Texas or other parts of New Mexico, hadn't really come out here much. You don't hear a lot about this area in terms of whether it's, I guess, economic development, or whether it's just tourism or whatever. This isn't a place that's on the map. And as I lived here, the longer I lived here, I kind of saw what the missing element is. I think that we lack, obviously, our educational opportunities that then morph into economic opportunities. So as I worked here longer, I thought, well, if we're going to give back, if I was going to give back, this is an area that I could delve into and assist the community with.
You recently held the Young Achievers Forum at New Mexico State University. What is the Young Achievers Forum?
The Young Achievers Forum is an initiative that was started in 2011 through an organization that I'm a member of called CommUNITY in Acción. CommUNITY in Acción is an organization that's the brainchild of Richard Castro, who is a friend of mine. He is an entrepreneur from El Paso. He has many McDonald's dealers, restaurants.
Restaurants. You have the dealerships.
Yeah, that's
He's
my
got the
area, right. So his idea was to bring together professionals from throughout the region, a cross-section of professionals, to really do one thing, and that's give back to the community, to enhance the community, to contribute to the community. You know, his thought was if we could put our collective minds together, our resources together, we might be able to do something that would really benefit the community. One of the initiatives to come out of this organization, CommUNITY in Acción, was the Young Achievers Forum. It's a concept that I had been tinkering with for many, many years, and then once Richard called and said, join this organization, I thought, well, here's a great time to really put this, give this initiative some traction and see if we can make it happen. What it does in a nutshell is it was designed to help change the mindsets of children at a young age and put them on a track that would lead to higher education, post-secondary education.
You know, growing up in Houston, you know, I grew up in Denver Harbor, which is in the inner part of Houston. Sure. And I remember growing up and never surrounded in our community with professionals, business professionals that would come in and talk to students. The most professionals that we got to were, you know, the teachers. And that was about as high as we got. And, you know, in the inner city, a lot of these students don't have that opportunity to meet professionals such as yourself to show kids about the entrepreneurial spirit.
I have very similar experience as yours, Edmundo. You were from Denver Harbor. I went to school in the north side, is what it's called. The barrios are kind of connected there. The dynamics are the same in the barrios of Houston as they are here. So the way I see it, it doesn't really matter if it's an urban setting or even a place like Las Cruces, you know, where it's somewhat rural. The outlying communities, you know, Deming, Alamogordo, or the barrios of El Paso, the dynamics are the same within those neighborhoods. We don't have a lot of role models that we can look up to that can set the example for us. My neighborhood was blue collar, lower income. Even blue collar was kind of a higher status, quite frankly. So the issue in those communities in Houston, as they are here in El Paso and in southern New Mexico for too many people, is that we have a low educational attainment. And again, that gets back to we don't have this, I guess, culture of role models that can show us the way to higher education, and that can really show us opportunities that are available to us.
This program that you work with gives at-risk students and their parents a college experience for a day to introduce post-secondary education to families who might not otherwise have exposure to college. Where do these students come from?
The students come from throughout the whole region. in New Mexico, we had our event on February 10th, and I will say this, we coordinated this with staff at New Mexico State University who were phenomenal. I'll just name Tony Marin, Michelle Adames, Dr. Carruthers are fully into this initiative. So what they were able to do now is coordinate this initiative with school districts from throughout southern New Mexico. So they were able to bring in students all the way from Deming, Hatch, Alamogordo, and then the small communities in between. The El Paso initiative that we just had last Saturday, we pull in students from all the ISDs in El Paso, as well as some of the outlying areas, Fort Hancock and Del City as well.
Do you find that a lot of these students are not growing up with the idea that you must go to college, that a lot of them are just, first generation people that are looking just to get through school?
Unfortunately, that seems to be the case for too many of our students. Again, getting back to why we do this initiative. Too many of the students, again, don't have, I guess, this tradition of college in their family. So, yes, many of the kids that are attending this event have never been to a college campus, and that holds true with their parents as well. So the initiative was designed specifically to bring these kids onto a college campus to give them that experience. And while they're here, it is designed to be an uplifting, exciting, enthusiastic type of event that really celebrates.
There's a pep rally. It starts off with a pep rally.
If you can call it that, it's a pep rally, rock concert, whatever. It's very, very exciting, high energy. Some of these kids were getting up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, because they have to drive into Las
Yes,
Cruces
yes.
into
So,
El Paso from Deming.
the last thing we want to do is to bring them in, get them up that early in the morning to bring them to an event that they're going to be bored with. So it's always very pleasing to see when, as they're coming in, they're just wanting to anxiously get inside the building to see what's going on, because we have loud music going on, laser lights, and they're excited. It's quite an event.
So what happens in the event? You have a motivational speaker. You have speakers that come in and talk to the students.
Well, it starts out in the morning with loud music. I guess the kind of music they like. I can't really tell you who the artists are, but
I wouldn't be able to tell you, and I've got 2 kids of my own.
But it's just a mix of high energy music. They have pom-poms, and they're split up into different companies, if you will, with different colors and so forth. So there's some friendly bantering back and forth among the students, depending on their colors. Again, we have the laser lights, the music. We have somebody up on stage, a gentleman named Juanito Perez out of Dallas, who comes in specifically for these events to fire up the kids. So we get them charged up, and then, yes, we have a series of motivational speakers that we'll talk to them at the morning session. And then from there, this past year, we had Josie Ortegon, who is a local broadcaster out of El Paso, and also an NMSU alum, gave the keynote presentation. She did a great job. In El Paso, we had Dr. Luis Luna was the keynote speaker. Both of them did a phenomenal job. As well as the speakers, we'll have Dr. Carruthers here at NMSU came out and gave a presentation to the children, and Dr. Natalicio gave a presentation to the kids in the morning in El Paso. So the whole thing, it's high energy. Again, we understand we're dealing with 12-year-old kids, and even if they weren't 12 years old, we don't want to bring anybody, I guess, out this early in the morning to bore them, so we want to keep them engaged and excited.
Why is it important to reach out to students at the middle school age?
These middle school students, now we target 6th graders who are at 12 years old for the most part at that grade level. Educators tell us that the highest percentage of dropouts occur in the 9th grade. So you figure 9th grade, they're about 15 years old. They didn't wake up someday or one day in the 9th grade and say, today's the day I'm going to drop out. This is something that's been in their mind now since at 12 years old. You know, what we're told now at 12 years old now is when a child starts developing now, I guess, their own sense of independence and their own sense of who they are and what they will be. So our thought is to reach them early on, at 12 years old, and plant that seed of a great future for them, and just to plant that seed that would show them the potential that they have and what we call G3, God-given greatness. So if we can let children know that they have this potential, if we can let children know about the opportunities that are present outside of the boundaries of their neighborhoods, we think we can set them on the right path.
Why is it important to advance the economic, civic, and social well-being of Hispanics in the region?
Well, it's very unfortunate, as you can attest from your upbringing, the neighborhood that you grew up in, Denver Harbor, the neighborhood I grew up in, areas in this region as well, El Paso, southern New Mexico. The economic base is very low, the per capita rate is very, very low, and these are predominantly Hispanic areas, and it's no secret that one's economic attainment will be directly tied to their educational level. So again, getting back to these dropouts now, when a child drops out at age 15, unfortunately, they've made it very, very, very difficult on themselves to make it in today's society. As you know, things are getting much more difficult in terms of economic attainment due to technological demands. I mean, everything is, or things are becoming more and more technical driven, so people have to have an education. And if we don't have an educated workforce, we are going to suffer the consequences, not only as individuals, but as an entire community.
What message do you give to these students to encourage them to stay in school, to look long term? Because for a lot of them, I would imagine that economics at home has a role in it, where they might feel the need to drop out of school so they can help out in the family. What message do you give to them to encourage them to stay in school?
Well, we give the message to both the students and the parents. As we've found in many cases, it's not just a matter of motivating the students, but the parents as well. Many times the parents, they can either promote a child's education or they can hinder it. And unfortunately, in some cases, we've seen parents who do not understand, I guess, the importance of an education. There's no, I guess, ill will here. A lot of times, I mean, it just comes down to basic economics. You need to have food on the table. You need to sustain a standard of living, if you will, and you're looking more short-term than long-term. But we try to reinforce the importance of education with the kids, letting them know that long-term it will make a tremendous difference in their lives, both economically, in just about every respect. You know, I'm told the more educated one is, their life expectancy is longer. They tend to be healthier, more involved, more civically engaged, and so forth. Overall, it's just a very, very positive thing for a child to pursue their education.
How many students did you reach out to in Las Cruces this year?
This year, as well as in 2016, we had 500 students attend the initiative. Quite frankly, we'd like to expand that number because we know there's certainly many, many more students that we'd like to reach out to. We wanted to start with a relatively small number just to kind of scale it and see how we'd be able to succeed with that many students. As it turns out, we did very, very well. Again, with the help of the NMSU people here, I cannot say enough about the efforts they put into this. For the initiative to maintain its impactfulness, where you have the smaller ratio of presenters to students and speakers to students and so forth, we don't want to make it too big, otherwise we think we lose the impact. But we would hope to double, I guess, the size for this one-off event from 500 to maybe 1,000 kids.
How many students have you reached in El Paso? This began in 2011.
Yes, we started off with 1,000 kids in El Paso. When we have had 1,000 kids attend our events for the last 6 initiatives. This last one we scaled it back down to 800. And the issue there was more so now the venue. We just don't have a venue large enough.
There's a need there.
Oh, there's absolutely a need, and that's the sad thing. One thing that we're going to have to work on now, because again, we could easily quadruple. We could do 10,000 students. There's a need for 10,000 if we could manage that many students. Now we get into logistical issues with facilities and volunteers and so forth. And I will add, the event is really the culmination of efforts on behalf of the entire community. Both events will have roughly 200 volunteers, over 200 volunteers here at NMSU as well as El Paso that come together.
200 volunteers?
Yes. Yeah, it is a beautiful thing. These are people from a cross-section of organizations from throughout both areas, people involved with UTEP, people involved with the NMSU, Community and Acción members, and just a number of people that want to help out that aren't members of any of the organizations, that just really mainly the presenters and other people that are volunteering, students at both universities. I mean, it's just a beautiful coalition of people that come together for no other purpose than to inspire our youth.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from the parents? Do you get a chance to talk to any of these kids'
Yes,
parents?
we just from one-on-one conversations, you can just see it in their face, how happy they are to be here. And this past year, we actually did a survey as well, asking the parents what their thoughts are. We're on the initiative. Overwhelmingly, they said that they were very, very satisfied with what they learned here at the event. The kids, I'm happy to say, the important thing for us, obviously, I mean, what this all comes down to is, can we put a child onto a track that leads to higher education? Can we intervene in their lives for a brief moment and maybe do something that would prevent them from dropping out? We surveyed the students as well, and over 96% of them said that as a result of attending this Young Achievers Forum that they would highly consider college.
Well, here's the tricky thing for you. Did some numbers here. You began this in 2011. Most of these students will be graduating from high school next year.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, is there a way to find out whether these students are
that is a very, very good question you ask, and that's something that we've posed to ourselves as well. I will say we are working closely now with NMSU and UTEP as well now to really start gathering the data now so that we can track the progress. It's one thing, I guess, to see it from an emotional standpoint. Mm-hmm. We see these students excited, we know, we just have this very positive feeling that comes out of it, but ultimately, yes, you're absolutely right. We have to be able to track to see exactly how successful this initiative is. We believe it is, just based on the feedback from all participants, but that's the next step now is to gather data and really get some empirical data on the success of the initiative.
Let's give some props to some of the businesses that have participated. Obviously, Bravo Chevrolet. Are there any businesses in Las Cruces that you like to?
Oh, there's several community partners that we have, and I'm going to rattle some off, and I
forgive those that you don't mention.
Yes, please forgive those that I forget to mention. But I mentioned Richard Castro and Castro Enterprises. AT&T has been a sponsor for both the initiatives. The Hunt Foundation, CREED, Council for Regional Educational Enhancement and Economic Development has been a big sponsor. Westar Bank, goodness gracious, I'm missing
put you
some,
on the
but
spot.
yes.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm fascinated with, and I would love to attend this event next year, and I'm making it a point, but talk to me about the expression on these kids' faces when they first get to a college campus. I would imagine their eyes must just become wide, and how impressed they must be.
Both campuses are very, very beautiful. I will say that I didn't realize how nice these campuses were until I had a chance to tour them with the students. But yes, it's exciting, even if you're not a 12-year-old, just for anybody to tour both the NMSU and UTEP campus. And the idea now is for these young kids to picture themselves, walking through this campus in, what would it be, 6 years, I guess, from now. No, it adds to the whole vibe, it adds to the whole excitement, the whole experience that these kids have. And we just love, we're very, very fortunate that we have this collaboration with NMSU and UTEP.
Let's talk about what more can be done by the community, the schools, beyond the forum to keep these students on track to go to college?
Well, I think the biggest thing, at least from my perspective, I'm not an educator and I can't really begin to give too much advice to school districts, but I can tell you this. The premise of this initiative is to plant that seed, if you will, in a child's mind, letting them know that there are great opportunities out there, that they have this tremendous potential, again, this G3, God-given greatness. And the more that can be reinforced throughout a child's development, throughout a child's educational career, I think the better off that child is going to be, the more disciplined they'll be, because we all know, coming from Denver Harbor and so forth, it wasn't easy to be raised in that neighborhood.
It wasn't. I mean, you know, we were immigrants of Mexico.
Right.
And my dad's biggest goal was for us to come to this country, learn the language, and get a job. His dream was never to say go to college. It was all about get through school, get a well-paying job, and feed the family.
Sure. And that's the mindset too many times. Again, Denver Harbor, if you can get a job with one of the oil companies, working in the refineries, you're doing great. And that, unfortunately, is the mindset. And we understand why. I mean, obviously, survival is of utmost importance. You know, how are you going to eat and so forth. But too many times that prevents our youth from really looking outside the boundaries of their barrios, of their communities, and they don't see the greatness that's out in this world, and that greatness that can be attained if they pursue it. Many times our youth don't pursue it because they don't believe, number one, they have the potential, or number two, that it's something that's within their future.
Mr. Raymond Palacios, I want to thank you very much for joining us on Fronteras y Changing America. I want to wish you the best of luck with the program.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on Fronteras y Changing America. I'm Edmundo Resendez.